Our next video today is compete to be unique. I think this is actually a very interesting part of the course. We're actually focusing on Joan Magretta's book here, Understanding Michael Porter, and she has some interesting ideas for us and things that personally I don't think about. I suspect that you may not think about either when it comes to competition. So again, competing to be unique from Magretta, her first question is, what or why are some companies more profitable than other companies? So what does she say? And if you think about it, why do you believe that certain companies are more profitable than others? I believe it's going to be on our next slide. When we look at our next slide, that is going to be the answer. And what is that next slide? It's about how you think about competition actually determines what are the choices that you make and how you compete. And so I don't know if any of y'all had ever played the game Civilization. It's a game that I used to play, a computer game I used to play several years ago. And one of the main points about Civilization, you're playing against six other, or you can play against six other virtual civilizations. But one of the main points is that you do not try to annihilate the other civilizations. If you do, they will gang up against you and it will be extremely hard for you to win. And so a lot of times in business, what do we think? We think that we need to annihilate our rivals. But what we find is that there are so many different needs to serve, so many different ways to win, that you don't need to annihilate your rivals, that we can work together. There's a term that's called a Pyrrhic victory. I don't know if y'all have heard that term before. Pyrrhic victory. What does it mean? Where did it come from? A Pyrrhic victory is a victory that takes such a high toll on the winner, on the victor, that really it equates to defeat. It comes from King Pyrrhus fighting the Romans in the Battle of Heraclea in 280 BC. And he did win the battle, but it's like as if he had lost. Because he had so many casualties on his side that it was basically the same as losing. And so where does this come in business? Where do we see this in business? We can see it where if there is a hostile takeover bid, and so the winner, the one who does actually take over, the other company has, again, spent so many resources, so much money that the winner is actually worse off than he or she had been. It's like winning a very expensive, long lawsuit where you actually win, but it would have been better that you never entered into that lawsuit, that you never got anything, that you never tried it. Sun Tzu from The Art of War says that the best battle is the one that was never fought. So that Art of War was actually the very first strategy book. It was written in the 5th century BC. And so Magretta says it's how we think about competition, that we need to change our mindset, that we should not try to annihilate our rivals, that there are other ways for us to win. She also says that one of the most common errors is to believe that competitive success comes from being the best. But now we talk about being the best. What does that mean? Is there such thing as being the best? Is there a best car? Is there a best phone? Is there a best hotel? Is there a best art museum? Well, actually, best is determined by the customer's needs. And so those needs vary between customers. So it depends upon, best depends upon which particular customers are you trying to satisfy. And so Magretta says, do not compete to be the best, compete to be unique. And if you are unique, that's when you can achieve that sustained superior performance. Because if you do if all of the companies are competing on the same dimension, what is it? What is the final result? No one gets the competitive advantage. The pie actually shrinks and shrinks and shrinks. It is the power, the bargaining power of the buyer who is that is the greatest. And so it turns out that only the truly lowest cost provider, lowest cost producer is the company that does work, that does succeed. So McGreta says, do not compete to be the best, compete to be unique. Next, she also says that firms do not have to be huge. You only have to be big enough to succeed. You do not need to be the biggest to succeed. You only have to be big enough. So think of BMW. BMW has what? It has roughly about 10% of the auto industry market. And is BMW profitable? Yes, BMW is extremely profitable. So you do not need to be the biggest to succeed. She says as well, do not pursue illusory scale advantages. Don't damage your performance by trying to cut price so that you can gain volume. Don't overextend yourself to serve all market segments because you can't. All you end up doing is diluting your product. And so pursuing overpriced mergers as well is a sin, basically, according to McGreta and to Porter. One of the examples there is that in 2014, Microsoft did what? Acquired Nokia for $7.9 billion, billion with a B. The Lumia phone did not take off. Microsoft ended up doing what? Laying off 15,000 Nokia employees in 2015. And then what did they do? They end up writing off 7.6 billion with a B dollars. They bought the practice for 7.9 billion and they write off, they effectively take it off of their balance sheet, take a loss of $7.6 billion. What were they trying to do is they tried to grow, but that was again not it was an illusory scale advantage. So that is what McGreta is telling us. The other thing is when we think about our competitive advantage, we think about our products, who is it that we are supposed to, what is it that we're supposed to be doing? Who is it that we're supposed to be thinking for? McGreta says, focus outwardly on your most important. Notice I used to have customers there. I've got customers taken out, scratched out in red. It's your stakeholders. What is the difference between a stakeholder and a customer? A customer is someone that you sell your product to. A stakeholder is anyone who is somehow affected by your product. So if you think about the pipelines, for example, that go through the Native American land. So even though those Native Americans are not customers of the gas pipeline, they are definitely stakeholders of the gas pipelines. And so things that have caused problems for the companies with those gas pipelines, again, the stakeholders think about all of the individuals that are possibly involved with that particular type of business or with that particular offering. Those are the stakeholders. Also, McGreta says, focus on your best competitors. And so why does she say that? What are your best competitors doing strategically and operationally that you can learn from? What are they doing better than you? What can you learn from and how can you do that differently? And then finally, she says, do not focus inwardly on your own products. The picture, the artwork that we have here is Goya's Saturn devouring his son. And so when we think about our products, what do we need to do as corporations? We need to eat our children before someone else does. We need to constantly be updating our products, not for the product's sake itself. Obviously, it is for the product, but what is the goal? The goal is to be able to better serve your customers' current needs, but as well your customers' future needs. So that is why we need to eat our children before someone else does, because trust me, someone else will. So we should never do what? We should never give our customer a reason, a product-based reason to switch from our product to another product. That is why we have to continually focus on our stakeholders. That is why we need to eat our children before someone else does. And then finally, the core question is this: what is the unique value that your firm is going to create? Remember, it is the unique value that is important. What do you create? What is your value proposition that the other firms do not have, cannot match? And so not only is it what is the unique value that your firm can create, we as individuals, we as employees, we as humans need to think about what is the unique value that we create? Why are we here? What is it that we are trying to do? What can we do that no one else can do? So think of that as well for your own career. What is the unique value that you are trying to create as well?